Welcome to It's Your Date with Destiny with Apostle Vivian and Pastor Jemma Duncan of Divine Destiny Worship Center in Diego Martin. For the next 30 minutes, join us as we take you on a journey of maximizing your potential and realizing your goals through Jesus Christ.
Why is it when you need a miracle, it doesn't happen, but when you least expect it, it happens?
You are married, you have challenges in your relationship, but your spouse is unwilling to accede to any counseling. Is divorce an option?
How does a parent handle a promiscuous child?
What are considered the do's and don'ts of a born-again couple who is not yet married?
There are always more questions than answers. So here is Apostle Jemma.
A very good morning to you. Welcome again to Ask Pastor Jemma. I appreciate the fact that you are spending this short time with me. And today we're going to look at another question on parenting. How do you deal with a child who is wayward, disobedient, and disrespectful? I'm just giving you the question just the way it was asked. And it would have been, a challenge if all the parents said was wayward, or disobedient, or disrespectful. But it seems as though this particular parent, because this is a question from a parent, who had to deal with all of these things in one child. But before I answer the question, in the event that you're a first-time viewer, I am Jemma Duncan. I'm married to Apostle Vivian Duncan. Together we pastor Divine Destiny Worship Center. Our headquarters is located on the Diego Martin Main Road opposite Sardonynx Drive. We have branches in Shogunas. We have a branch in Sangre Grande, branch in Faizabad. Our latest branch is in Rio Claro. We have a branch in Tobago and one in Antigua in the event that you have a friend or family member there. What I observe about parenting and eventually having to deal with children who, as the question asks, are wayward, disobedient, and disrespectful, and I'm going to deal with each one by itself, is that when children are small, when they are toddlers, these same behaviors seem to be harmless and cute. And I see parents actually taking photos of their children misbehaving, because we are in the cell phone era, and the child is rude, and everybody laughing, it's funny, he's entertaining, and the child is using obscene words, and the parents think it's cute, and music is playing, and the little child is whining, obscenely. It is unseemly for an adult, and the parent taking a little video of it because it's so cute, and then when that child continues with that same behavior at a particular time, it's no longer cute. And so if you're talking about dealing with certain behaviors, you have to determine when you have a little toddler, if the exact thing that toddler is doing at this particular time will be acceptable when that child grows up. What about what they say to you, how they behave towards you, when you give them a command. And many times, command sounds a little harsh, but many times it's for their own good. It's to prevent them from hurting themselves. A child climbs up on the cupboard and you say, come down, and he ignores you. And the next thing, you end up going to the hospital with him because he burst his head, he fell down, damaged his foot when he jumped down, because that child doesn't understand how high that cupboard is. And even a kitchen cupboard, when a small child, a toddler, or a dining room table jumps, and remember, he's not anticipating how to land or any such thing. It's not a person who is skilled and knows how to land and so on, and could literally hurt themselves. And we allow that child to continue to behave like that, and we don't say anything, and then here is that child probably trying to jump from a higher place and then eventually hurts himself. So it is not cute if the way that little child is behaving will be unacceptable when he gets a little older. It is said that the formative years are from 1 to 7, and it is further said that practice makes permanent. When you look at what the psychologists say, the truth is, whatever it is that is established in a little human being from 1 to 7 really would be how that person is going to live or behave for the rest of his life. And of course, when I went to school, the psychologist said the child is father of the man, right? Simply means what in the child will ultimately come down there. Yeah, because we think that the man, it should be reversed. No, the child is father of the man. And what you practice in your childhood is what the same kind of man you will become as an adult. So we have to pay attention on those things. Now, I am very careful not to pronounce on certain people and certain behaviors, because people might find I'm hard and harsh and punitive in what I say, because I am a kind of long-time parent. I laughingly say to my children, I'm from Jurassic Park. You know, what I learned long ago, it worked so well that Vivian and I practiced precisely that same kind of parenting skill, because he came from a home where there were 7 boys and they just conformed. I mean, well, they weren't boys, they were men. And when I met him, they were all, you know, hopping to whatever the mother said. These were adults. And I said to him, because he was, what, like 24 or something, so, and he was number 4, somewhere down there. And I said to him, but, you know, how is it that you just obey your parents and do exactly what they say? You're a big man. And he said, well, that's what they know. Well, I went to his mother to find out what she did, you know. How did you get these adult men, 7 of them, to just conform? If you say something, they just followed suit. They didn't rebel against what the parents said. And I said to him, he said, no, you none of you try to smoke. You know, at least take a little pull to see what it's like. No. I say, no. You know, he said, all the guys at Hillview, Bricken Beach, he wasn't going. I said, so you didn't want to go? He said, no. Because the way they posture God is as if God had a big stick. And all the guys would have gotten away, and he was the one who probably would have drowned in the river. So he not going. No, that's not a good way to posture God, because he's a loving father. However, I mean, that was how extreme we were at that point. Coming back now to what we have to say. So we're looking at how to deal with wayward, disobedient, and disrespectful children. So a wayward child is a child who is following no clear principle, taking an irregular or improper way in terms of what they do. So there is a way, a right way to behave. A wayward child will be a child who goes off into the wrong way. Now these days, unfortunately, we live in a society where there seem not to be right or wrong. So even the parents don't seem to have a sense of right or wrong. Now, if we don't have a sense of right or wrong, how are we going to lead our children along the way? And you can only be considered wayward if there is a right way. And when I deviate from that right way, you can describe me as wayward. You know, if everything is everything, if there's no right or wrong, if right is simply based on how I feel, if it feels right to do it, that's the philosophy we expose today. So we go by feeling. If something feels right, I have the right to do it. But remember, I'm an adult. So even when I do things like that, I still know how to gauge myself and not hurt or harm myself. A little child don't quite understand. They're in an environment where there is no real right or wrong, and then, you know, we expect them to be responsible. They can't be responsible at that age, right? In Proverbs 22, it says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. Why then is a child not able to follow a clear pathway? Simply because there was none. Your child can follow a pathway that you didn't set. We behave in any way we want because we are adults and we feel we have the right to do whatever we want. And to an extent, because if your right to do what you want doesn't hurt another human being, it's fine. Because some people feel they have the right to take what I have. You know, the right to rob me, the right to hold me up because, you know, come on, you have the right. But my rights cannot infringe on somebody else's right. And so I'm saying to you, I'm not trying to ascribe blame, as I said, the child will be wayward most times because no clear pathway was set for that child. And again, if you've been following me, because we've been dealing with parenting, we have to establish a philosophy of life for your family. Because the child must know there is a right and a wrong way. Amazingly, every single thing in our society today have standards except the human being. If you buy in steel to put in a building, there's a standard. If you're buying bricks, there's a standard. If you buy an appliance, there are standards. If you buy a piece of garment, there's a standard, because inside the shirt, you will see the inspector number 9, inspector number 10, or however number so-and-so, and you would know that this shirt was inspected by this person based on standard. And usually, when the garment or the appliance or something like that is not up to standard, what do? They sell it as seconds. And you get it cheaper because you can't pay full price for something that is not up to standard. So everything else has standards except the human being. Because we're liberal today, we have no standard. And then we complain that the child is wayward because you didn't set no standard. You're going to have to go back now, which is late, which is difficult, because now you're trying to straighten up a tree that you didn't bend, they say, when it's young. We are gardeners, we plant. And sometimes, you know what you have to do with a tree that is not growing straight? You have to put a stake. So we pull a stake in the ground, and you tie the tree, the little, because sometimes the limb is so limber, it's weak, it can't hold on its own, right? And that stem, you tie it on that stake, and until the stem or the limb gets fat enough to stand on its own, the stake will keep it up. Listen to me, the training that we have to do with those children, if I want to avoid them being wayward, is sometimes we have to use the rod, and I know I'll lose a few people there. That same stake that we use for the tomatoes, because right now, our tomato trees, they just lie down all over. You have to put stake on them. Sometimes we have to use stake. And the Bible talks about using the rod. It doesn't say to abuse the child. God doesn't want you to abuse your child, because God talks about fathers not provoking your children to wrath. And abuse will provoke a child to wrath. It will get the child angry and dysfunctional. But certainly, there are times when we have to use the rod based on the scripture. The Bible says, don't use the rod and don't spoil the child. And the Bible talks about the person who doesn't use the rod. The Bible uses the word hate. I say hate. That's what the scripture says. If you don't use the rod, you hate your child. That's a very strong word. Now, sometimes every child don't need the rod. You have 3 children, and in our home, everybody didn't need the rod. Some children, listen to me, from the time you only watch them, the eyeful. You know, some of them you shout, and they hop too. And some of them, you have to apply some pressure. You know, when do you apply the pressure? When they're young. You know, when do you apply that kind of discipline? When they're young. And as they keep growing, because you had them almost always, you know what I mean, with this straight line going, that child will hardly, as the Bible says, when that child become older, they wouldn't depart from it. Sometimes they go away for a while, but check anybody who grew up along the right pathway, a godly path, where there was a praying mother, where certain standards were instilled in that child, sometime in that person's adult life, they will go right back, because there's a pull, like a bungee cord, that pulls you back to center. So if you're talking about how to deal with it, you have to go back now and start again doing what you should have done when the child was younger. So we're talking about disobedient child. And disobedient means a child who neglects and refuses to obey. From whence did the child get this disobedience? You know, disobedience and waywardness and all these things are learned behavior. Again, I want to go right back to the adults who in the children's life or that child's life. They are learned behavior. If you want your child to be an obedient child, I must model that behavior of obedience. You say, well, I'm an adult. To whom should I be obedient? Oh, the authorities. And there are many authority figures over you as an adult. A simple thing. Now, I might be driving down the road, and there may be no policeman on the street, but there's a traffic light. Do you know that traffic light represents authority? And when my child sees me, because there is no policeman around going through the lights, what am I teaching him? Not to follow authority. not to follow laws, break the rules, even speed limit. I mean, this is Trinidad, the big one. We are amazing. We had an 80 kilometer speed limit on the highway. People were upset because they found, all right, 80 is just too slow and so on. Okay, the government relented and the government gave 100 and people still speeding. We driving on the highway and you notice, I mean, the speed they passing you on, if you driving like about 100, you know that they're going way beyond because we just cannot obey laws. And then we have a problem when our children are disobedient. In many ways, I thought based on all the talk that went on when we wanted the speed limit to increase, and I myself, I can't say I'm sorry it went up to 100, I'm happy, we drove just earlier this year from Fort Lauderdale to Orlando. That whole highway, I forget what the name they call it, the thing is 60, it's slow. Some areas 50, and of course, we driving in the middle of the night. It's 12 o'clock, but you still have to conform because they have cameras. And see, it was raining, and listen, even when with the rain, it was slow. And I said, but wait now, Trinidadians always talking about every other place, how they had the speed limit. No, right in America, that long stretch, hours it took us from Fort Lauderdale to Orlando, we didn't see a speed limit over 60, which was amazing. And it's one long straight road. You had to turn in nowhere. It didn't even have a curve to the road, right? So I'm saying to us, the things we do, what do you do on the workplace? How do I practice my work ethic? And all of these things are what I'm teaching. So we have laws of the land. As a parent, I disobey the laws. Then I'm teaching my child. We have laws in the workplace, rules that govern the workplace. When I disobey the rules, I teach my child to do so. We have laws in church, and the Bible gives us laws to live by. And I disobey the laws, then I teach my child to be disrespectful. Some people tend to feel that certain laws, they could get away with it, because, for example, we have the laws of gravity, and I tell people laws are laws, especially when God initiates the law. The laws of gravity, I know the songwriter says, I believe I can fly. But as convinced that he is that he could fly, he ain't going from no building and opening his arms like some eagle and jump off. Because I believe I will crash, I believe I may die. And the worst thing is if you die, all right, maybe you're dead and gone. But I believe that I could really damage myself and hurt myself. You understand what I'm trying to say? So there is a law. And because it is an unwritten law, and it is not as physical, and the damage is not physical like flying off or jumping off a roof or a ceiling, we feel we could get away with it. No. So we have to show our children model the behavior. Something in Genesis, and I really hope I get through this, was very interesting. Genesis 30, 37 around there, Jacob tried, there was a story there where when he was ready to leave his uncle Laban's house, he got his wives and he was about to go, Laban conned him. And they had an agreement that certain animals, the ones that were spotted and speckled, that had marks on them, the cows and the goats that had marks on them would be for Jacob, and he could take that with him. And those that are single colored would be for Laban. And Laban and they overnight took out all the speckled animals and with marks and so on. And that meant that Jacob had nothing. You know what Jacob did? The Bible says he took poplar or a piece of branches. He made designs on the branches. He put it in the drinking trough of all the pregnant animals. And every time those animals came to drink and they saw the patterns on the pieces of wood, they made children, babies that had marks on them. What those animals beheld was what they produced. And so it's the same thing applies. It's a lesson in life. What your children behold is what they will produce. So if you want to see a change of behavior, then you too must model the behavior that you want. The last one we're going to look at is disrespectful. And again, Proverbs 18:21 says, life and death are in the power of the tongue. Every time you speak to your children, you prophesy to them. I remember talking to an adult, and she said she had a foul mouth. And that was one of the things that God delivered her from. And she got into a relationship with Jesus Christ. She was delivered foul mouth. And I said, but where did you learn that? She said her mother was foul-mouthed. And she would curse them from the time she was a little girl. That mother would curse the children. You would want to discipline your child. The child did something, and she would literally curse the little children. And she said after a while, the mother didn't like her because of some situation with the father. When she got pregnant, the father left, and the mother hated her. Up to now, as an adult, the mother still has an issue with her. And the grandmother eventually rescued her from the mother's hand. And she said, thank God, because the grandmother was a praying mother, and the grandmother now helped her along with changing her language. I'm saying to you, when we disrespect our children, not only will they disrespect you, but they will disrespect other people. And it begins with the language that you speak to your children. Every time you open your mouth and speak to your child, you're prophesying to that child. When you disrespect your child, you're prophesying doom and gloom. When you speak good or speak well to that child, you're prophesying good and well-being for that child. You want to change a child who is disrespectful, you begin to respect them by the language you use. You begin to respect other people by how you speak to and about other people. We say one thing in front of people and then another thing behind the back, and our children now learn how to be disrespectful. I'm saying to us, it might sound very hard, my response to this, but anything that you want to see changed in your children, you have to start to model it, because, you have disrespect all over the place, all around you. You can't expect teachers or anybody else to help your child with respect, because teachers sometimes could be disrespectful to the children, to themselves, to their bosses, to the leaders. We just disrespectful. Husband and wives are disrespectful to each other. So if I want my child or my children to be different, I have to model it. Speak to your children every day. And what I did was every single day, I would speak to my children, and I would tell them, when they were growing up, you shall be the head and not the tail, above only, not beneath. I would apply oil on their forehead and speak to them. Up to today, I try to practice, although my children are adults, they don't live with me, they all live abroad. I try to WhatsApp them with just sometimes one line if I don't have the time. May God bless you today. May you open doors of opportunity for you today. Just anything like that I would send to each of them. Sometimes it's the same thing, I just copy to everybody. But I have the practice of speaking life to them. And when we speak disrespect, we will get it. But if we speak respect, there's the same thing will come back to us. So my point is, start to model the behavior that you want, and many times if we want to start that process of reversing negative behaviors, we're going to have to apologize to our children and say to them, I'm sorry, because I noticed how you're behaving is what you saw, but I was wrong, I am wrong, and I want to start changing it. And so now that child must now see you consistently modeling something very different.
What is wrong with this world we live in today? I say, so much people going astray on the Broadway. Idleness and pleasure seeking having sway on the minds today, as though people forget to pray. I see children being left alone without parental direction. After school alone, at home, in front of the television. In Sesame Street is the example they must follow. Is a froggy baby mentality gonna rule us tomorrow? You see, when you train a child how to go, when they get old, they're moving so. When you're too young and you're bending wrong, it's hard to straighten when it's old, when it old and strong. start is when you are young. I said change your attitude. Don't wait till you're sick in the hospital to change your attitude. Stop being carnal and be spiritual. People walking around in a mental haze, and they love to laze and wouldn't even lift up their voice in praise. If we don't take heed and mend our ways, one of these days we gon' set this entire world ablaze. I see in the east and in the west, in the north and in the south, international commerce is rumors of wars and wars all about. And this is the example our children will follow.
Have you received a promise from God and it seems like it's never going to happen? Do you feel all alone, like nothing's working right, and the people you thought would help you are working against you? Well, you're not alone. Thousands of years ago, a man named David was anointed by God to be king of Israel. But instead of a smooth road to the throne, he went through some unexpected challenges. Coming from a dysfunctional family, he persevered against giants, jealousy, self-doubt, and personal failures to become the greatest king in the history of Israel and set the standard for worship because he kept his heart focused on God. I'm Dr. Angel Duncan, and I want to invite you to join me on a journey through the life of David in my new book, 1 Month with the King, 31 Lessons from the Life of King David. For each lesson, there are corresponding activities in the companion interactive study journal. This is designed for you to apply what you learn. This book was written to encourage the hearts of people who have received promises from God that seem long in coming. Most importantly, emphasis is placed on seeing the process through God's eyes and fulfilling the promise in God's heart. In the end, may God say about you what he said about David in Acts chapter 13, verse 22. I have found David, the son of Jesse, a man after mine own heart, which shall fulfill all my will. Pick up your copy today at Amazon.com or any major online bookseller.
I hope I helped you. And I don't want you to forget what Jesus said. What did he say? He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except by me. God bless you real good.